My name is Daniel Williams. I'm the founder of Visualize Training and Consultancy. This is my first ever guide dog called Zodiac. Say hello. Zodiac. Zodiac. Oh. I'm registered blind. I have a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a gradual loss of peripheral vision. So I still have my central vision, but I can't see sort of far in the distance. And in the night it becomes a lot more difficult. I've been on the waiting list for a guide dog for about 18 months now. And what convinced me to get a guide dog was that I was walking on the street one day and I knocked a phone out of someone's hand. And I knocked into them. And I think also it just would make my life a lot easier. So rather than worrying about bumping into lampposts and people and trying to navigate people, the guide dog for me would be able to help me to navigate the world more independently and safely.
My name's Alex Pepper. To your right is Mr. River, my new guide dog. It's been hard work, but you know, the way they've sort of structured the training, they've really thought about it, so they're drip feeding you bit by bit and they're just building it up stage by stage so everything makes sense. The bond between myself and River and Dan and his dog Zodiac is just building daily, and it shows the importance of, you know, coming away and staying in a hotel, although it's 10 days away from home. I think it really is worth it because that bond is building quickly.
Forward. Forward. Good boy.
The actual training itself is, you know, it's intense. There's a lot to remember. I think people underestimate and probably think that the guide dog's just going to do everything for you, take you everywhere. But you really need to know where you're going. You need to be in control of the dog, and you also need to be able to know, you know, if the dog goes the wrong way or you go the wrong way, to be able to correct that quickly, and then praise the dog so that it doesn't do that again.
What's he done?
Oh wow, good boy.
Loads of praise.
Good boy.
Give him a biscuit.
Good boy.
Good, well done.
Left, left, left. Straight on. Good boy. Straight on.
Steady him down.
Steady.
There's 9 different commands. One of them is steady, which means you've got to make sure that the dog, steady means that the dog should go slower. If the speed is too much, you tell the dog steady, which slows it down. The next command is step stand, which basically means find the step and then put the dog's paw on the first step, ready to go. The third stand is forward, so you command the dog to move forward. You can also tell the dog to find the box, so you might say box, box, and then it will find the box on the pedestrian crossing where you have to press the button.
And locate the box, okay? Box, box. Give him lots of praise.
The guide dog is not going to tell you when it's safe to cross the road, so that individual or that person needs to know whether it's safe to cross or not, which is, you know, really, really important. And then you can also tell the dog to find the doors or find the gates, or, you know, things like that. So you can tell it certain commands, and obviously again that was inbuilt within the training that the guide dogs team had done initially in their initial 2 years of training.
It's working out how to sort of communicate with your dog, so adjusting my voice. I'm well known, and my missus will tell you I've got a bit of a monotone voice and I tend to mumble. So with the dog I've got to speak clearly, sometimes speak high pitch, throw in a bit of movement, a bit of body movement, tapping the leg. But you know, as I said, building up the bond throughout the week, it's just become easier and easier, and really learned what works and what doesn't work, and Tim's been great at advising me.
I'm Tim. I'm a guide dog mobility instructor, and that's usually short to GDMI. I've worked for Guide Dog for about 10 years, and for the last week I've been training Dan and Alex in how to work their guide dog in every principle.
Sit. Oh, good boy.
Come on, steady. Come on.
Easy, mate. Easy.
Might not, because he did. He hasn't had any water, so.
Yeah, I think
No? Sure? Busy?
If it's residential training like Alex and Dan are doing, we'll have them in the hotel, so, and you can go through everything: the grooming, the feeding, free running, walks in quiet areas, how to locate crossing points, trains, tubes, buses, how to negotiate if your pavement's blocked, traffic training, all different situations, night walks, how to have your dog socially in a restaurant. So in a residential training session, you can cover all of that in a very relatively short period of time. And it also helps the clients focus a little bit more on actually why they're there, rather than letting everyday life get in the way and having other chores to do or having other family members to care for. They can just solely care for that dog and really form a strong bond in those 2 weeks.
So this is how you feed a guide dog.
Good boy. Good boy.
On the tube, I was thinking about, is the dog in people's way, I think. So trying to be more considerate of other people, when I probably didn't really need to worry about that too much, because people, if they can see, then they can move over the dog. The other thing is people always want, I think it's a social tool as well, so a lot of people you'll find will talk to you a lot more if you have a guide dog, whereas you probably wouldn't speak to so many people not having a guide dog. No one's going to come up to your cane and say, oh, what a lovely white cane you got there, and start stroking that. So it does start conversation, and obviously that can be good and it can also be bad.
People need to understand as well, when the dog's working, you can't just go up to it and touch it, because it is a working dog, and you can really throw a whole route off track if you do so, and change the dog's behaviour for the rest of the day, or at least the rest of the route.
And if everybody goes and puts the hand down and gives the dog some reinforcement and praise, obviously that's quite stimulating for the dog, and they're going to seek that wherever they go. So instead of getting reinforcement for guiding Dan or Alex around somebody, they're going to get the reinforcement from just going and seeking people out, and it distracts them from the actual job they're doing. And it could be that every person that gives them eye contact that they go past, they just walk into them because they want that attention.
So you got a dog, Dan, tell him no. So, shoulder back, lead the right hand.
Just helping the dog out with your body position, it's working as a partnership. You're not just relying solely on the dog, you're actually working as well.
My body position was probably a lot more, I was putting my head down a lot more, because I'm looking at the floor, because I've not got my peripheral vision around the sides and below and above. So I tended to look down at the floor. So having the guide dogs, I'm slowly trying to get my head straight looking at where I want to go. And Tim, the trainer, he's been really good in trying to make me straighten out my posture.
All the team, to be honest, Dan and I have been discussing each night, it's so obvious how passionate everyone is, and how much work goes into just every single dog. It's just such an intense process for both the trainers and the dogs themselves.
It takes a lot of time and energy to get that dog to a standard to be able to help blind and partially sighted people. So for me, it's like they need a lot of recognition in terms of what they do, and because at the end of the day, without them, we wouldn't have guide dogs. What I'm finding is that you walk along the street, people will probably be on their mobile phones, or they park their cars on the street, so it's an obstacle for people with a guide dog to get around.
It's the real world, but people do need to be a little more aware. To be honest, 99.9% of the time it's because they're on their phone. It's always what it is. It can be annoying, but I'll never get angry with someone, so to speak, unless someone barges me and just doesn't even say sorry.
Busy. Easy, busy boy. Busy. Oh, he's having a word. Good boy. It's like he's trying to. Good boy.
having a guide dog has really empowered me. It's been an emotional roller coaster, to be honest, because you know, before I actually come here, I didn't use a cane or a dog or anything. So, and I just sort of got on with it and managed. And then I've realised that my speed has just dramatically increased. So from not having, when I was walking around normally, I probably doubled my speed, if not tripled it. Now, initially I had reservations about having a guide dog. I was thinking, it's a dog, it's a pet, you still need to, you know, clean it, take it to the toilet, all the other stuff that dogs come with, a responsibility and a commitment. But I'm slowly, and I've never had a dog before, so it's a big adjustment for me. But as time's going on, I'm slowly adjusting to having a guide dog and having a dog, period. And it's just making, I think it's going to make my life a lot more easier.
A bit nervous to take him home. Just at the end of the day, I've never had a dog. I'm getting used to looking after a dog, and I think I'll be fine. I'm sure I'll be fine. In terms of the workload, I'm not really nervous at all. I can just see how well it's going to work. So I'm more excited than anything really.
We want to see the best from our dogs, and when we work with people that have got that same vision and they've got that love for the dogs and they want to get things right, that's what we're here for. And when you see people walking around much quicker than they've ever walked before, or going and achieving things that they never thought they'd achieve, because guide dog is like a placebo effect sometimes. It just gives you that confidence to go out that you would never have thought before, and it's a companion for them.
So I've done the 10 days training, obviously with guide dogs in a hotel, and it sort of felt like, you know, to get all the foundations and everything under my belt in terms of the commands and what I needed to know about guide dog was really useful. But now I've come home, it's like you now have to take that step from the hotel, which is sort of a safe bubble, and then you come out of that safe bubble with sort of a little bit of support from the trainer, but mainly it's you're on your own, so you're flying on your own with your guide dog. Ben.
Busy. Big busy. busy.
I've been jetting around Cardiff for the last couple of days, just sort of walking around confidently, not tripping on anything, being more confident when walking around. I think for me it's a big thing getting used to people, you know, having a red light over your head effectively, and people knowing that you have a visual impairment or knowing that you're blind. Whereas before I never had a cane or a dog, so obviously no one really knew that I had a visual impairment. So now the general public actually can see it, and I feel a bit like, you know, I'm centre of attention and everyone's sort of looking at me. Yeah. Yeah, alright then. Alright, bye. Today I had someone ask me if I needed help crossing the road. Like, I'm not used to that sort of approach because I've never been visibly disabled, as it were. I had an invisible disability, and now I sort of have a visible disability. You realise how nice people are and that they go out of their way and they will speak to you. And people, you know, always asking, are you okay? Do you need help to do this, or do you need help to do that? The other thing is my gym. So my gym will let Zodiac sort of sit in the office. They'll look after him while I work out. They've also gone an extra mile and they provided some water and a mat for him as well, which is really useful. So he can chill out while I'm in the gym. I've got this card here, which is a guide dog card. So this basically says, you know, by law, guide dogs are allowed in every establishment. I think a lot of people are unaware of where guide dogs are allowed and where they're not allowed. So guide dogs are assistance dogs, and they're covered under the Equality Act 2010. They're allowed anywhere and everywhere, basically. So restaurants, shops, pubs, guide dogs can go, because that's a person's mobility aid, the same way that a wheelchair is someone's mobility aid that's getting them from A to B. Obviously there are a lot of people that may not like dogs, but they would still have to accept a guide dog because it's an assistance dog. There are 75% of guide dog owners do get refused, which is, you know, growing, because a lot of people may not be aware of the law and the legislation. But for the guide dog owner, obviously that can cause problems in terms of you know, affect their mental health and well-being, and also make them feel a bit like a second-class citizen.
Good boy.
On the guide dog training, the trainer rang up a restaurant to book us in for a meal. Just a meal, I won't say the name of the meal. And we basically, the person on the end of the phone said to us that there's no dogs allowed, and when we told him that it was a guide dog, he said, oh no, still no dogs allowed. Anyway, we sort of said, yeah, well, it's a guide dog and it is allowed, so we had to tell him. And when we arrived, my dog went under the table, which was fine, but my colleague's dog, Alex, his dog didn't go under the table, so his dog sort of sat at the side, and the guy in the restaurant sort of said to us, no, the dog needs to go under. And it was like, you know, it can't be seen sort of thing, as if it was like this big secret. My condition, retinitis pigmentosa, is a gradual loss of peripheral vision, slowly getting worse over time. But in the night, it's a lot worse. So in the night, I have night blindness, which means I basically can't see much in the night unless there's bright lights on. So street lights are okay, but they're not that great. And certain roads, if they're like really dark, then sometimes I walk in. I used to walk in the road because I felt safer in the road because there wouldn't be any lampposts or bollards in the road generally. There'll just be cars, whereas cars you can sort of see them coming because they've got lights on them. So I'd probably put myself at risk then. Head through. Good boy. When I was walking with Zodiac in the dark, it just made life so much easier, not needing to worry about walking into anything, you know, not walking into people and people just think you're rude, or, you know, you're trying to start a fight with them. I'm lucky I've never been punched in the face because obviously people don't know that I had a visual impairment.
You know, you did everything right.
Yeah.
Bird work was really good.
Yeah.
Picking up still and sniffing.
Yeah.
You know, went past the dog, and again, kept that straight line nice and solid.
Yeah.
So, and that bit down there where he had loads to do behind the bit and the phone box and scaffolding, followed really well, people coming towards you. Yeah. It's not easy for him at night either.
No.
Because, you know, his eyesight diminishes as well.
Yeah.
But he's got, obviously, enough like me to get around. So, good praise.
Good boy.
Yeah. Emotional?
It was emotional. Yeah.
You did well, mate.
Yeah.
Keep that up. That's what I'd do, I think, you know. Just fresh air.
No, I'm fine.
Right?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so rowdy. And look, he doesn't give a toss about me anymore, does he? Is it happy tears?
Yeah, yeah.
That's alright then. Well done, mate.
Cheers.
Go and do some gym work now.
Yeah. To be honest, taking up the process of having a guide dog, I just thought that you could pick up a guide dog, you know, hold the harness and it would just take you where you wanted to go. I didn't realise how much, you know, guide dogs as an organisation put into these animals and how intelligent they are, but also how, you know, how the staff work so hard to make these dogs great for everyone, really.